Good evening, gentlemen, and a few of you ladies that may be listening. This is Spiritual Art of War, back at it again with another episode. And this time we're going to talk about incentives for men in society. And this is actually a big, this might be one of the biggest issues going on globally in many countries. Definitely in the Western world and definitely in a lot of developing countries. Men have to have purpose. They have to have some level of purpose. And I think one of the things that's happening is in the West and in some cases, third world countries where the populace imitates the West, there's this idea of luxury and opulence as a way of life, as something to attain, and if you don't attain that, you are then somehow a failure. And truth be told, that the original thing that really motivated men are not really talked about. And it's somewhat complex because you'd have to really go into like ancient ways. You have to go into the ancient world and ask yourself what motivated men of that time. And I don't think people understand how complex that could be. When you're talking about men in the ancient world, men were motivated by various things. They're motivated by God. They're motivated by family or tribe, quote unquote race, nationality, whatever you want to call it, and country, meaning protecting the homeland. This is the reason why even a lot of men that were unmarried, they were still willing to die to protect their nation group and their land or territory. Okay, a large chunk of humanity, as far as men, did not reproduce. And it's not because of necessarily infant mortality. It's really because of the things that men had to do in society in order to keep the race going, their particular group of people going. Men had to fight wars. Men also engaged in manual labor, and manual labor back then could lead to injury, which could lead to you dying. Even if you got injured, you could be so incapacitated that now your survival is going to be based on other people. And in many times you wouldn't be able to pass on your genes because your injury would make you not a viable candidate for marriage. Men suffered a lot in societies. And I think in today's day and age, and because men are disposable, in today's day and age, men that are even productive are disposable, because their livelihood is attacked. Their wealth, their resources are attacked because a woman is no longer happy. And the fact is that it was a group of men at the top to strengthen the woman against the men to disenfranchise men. So when men no longer have various motivations to have a reason to push forward, you're putting your country in a very dangerous situation. This is the reason why many elites have an escape plan when shit hits the fan. If you go to the U.S. and think about it, right? And I made the comparison to first world and developing nations because even though they're both on opposing sides, both have some of the same issues in regards to their male population. And I'm going to give you an example, right? The elites of the West have bunkers and deep underground military bases. They have also security units that they control that can protect them. They have access to remote locations. They have friends in other countries and high places as well. Some of them, they have levels of control of them. Some of them, it's like a mutual thing. Same thing with third world countries. A lot of these third world countries, their leadership, their elites, siphon off resources for themselves, and many of them have property and homes in other countries. This is where they go for their hospital treatment. This is where they go for luxury shopping. This is where they go to enjoy some of the things that are given to people that are rich in first world countries. So when shit hits the fans where they are, they'll leave their countries on a plane to somewhere safer. You know, and even if they don't leave, they have fortresses, you know, that they could potentially be protected. You know, this is, of course, military coups is different. I'm talking about like complete, utter social unrest and chaos. If they know it's so bad that they or their children may be in danger, they'll just fly out. And they'll just leave other people to handle the problem on the ground in those said countries. So ultimately, the elites have to worry about the men in their societies turning on them. That's one of the biggest things that they worry about, bro. Because the fact is that if you look throughout history, men overthrew other powerful men all the time. Even men that were not as powerful or elite found a way to get themselves to powerful people and take them out, and to then replace them and rule over them, rule over the new group of people. So a lot of people don't even understand like how deep that is. Men that don't have a purpose, that don't have a future, that feel like there's no future. It's human nature for those men to ultimately get together and figure out a way to overthrow the system that's keeping them down, that's not giving them anything to live for. That's the reason why the elites of each society tries to give them something to live for. Even if it's bigotry, it could be bigotry. That's the reason why so many white people were willing foot soldiers for white supremacy throughout this country. Whether it's Civil War, whether it's Jim Crow, okay, whether it's the post-civil rights era. You know, you see right here with this alt-right movement, they're willing to push these narratives because the elites, they know they got to give them at least something, some kind of driving force or objective that they can put their mind to. And if they can make them focus on another group of people as being the problem in society, then they've kind of won half the battle, because then you don't have to worry about that particular group focusing on you, the elites, as being the problem. And this is a very common tactic. This is a divide and rule tactic. Okay? It's a very effective method to make an us versus them within a society or outside of society. You could say another country is the enemy. You know what I'm saying? Another group of people and the countries. And when you look at Hitler was very good at doing that. He said he made the Jewish merchant be viewed as a potential threat and enemy to the German people. And then he also made other countries. He pointed out the Slavics as being a problem within Europe, and they needed to solve the issue with the Slavics people. That's why he went eastward, because he wanted to take down and, subdue the Russians. Okay? So people got to understand is that it's not like it's something that hasn't happened before, but when you can channel a young man's energy towards a different purpose, because what was happening was, after World War I, the men had no purpose. Okay, they got into drugs, they got into various, means of immorality that was being promoted by the small hats, particularly in places like Berlin. And they didn't have no purpose, so they were putting their energy towards things that were not useful for them. And what he did is he gave those men purpose. And those men became more productive, and they began to have quote-unquote pride in themselves, in their people and in themselves. And a lot of people don't understand, like, this is a natural thing that happens. And people that are in power, this is a power, they always think about how can they harness the motivations of men, because if you don't, it'll be very destructive, and men will naturally turn upon the country that they feel is not doing right by them. And I think that's kind of where we're reaching in a lot of the Western world. That's why they've been flipping it with like anti-immigration protests. It's happening all over the world. I mean, I've seen Australia have anti-immigration protests. You've seen it in England. Okay, you've seen it in different Eastern Bloc countries. I think I've seen recently one in Australia too. There's a lot of rhetoric, anti-immigration rhetoric. There's anti-black rhetoric, anti-Arab rhetoric, anti-Asian rhetoric, anti-Indian rhetoric that's going on social media, and we're talking on a global scale. So and the reason why that's happening is because those men, those so-called white men in these countries, and this is happening even in black countries, happening in South Africa. Okay, South Africa has a big anti-immigration movement among the black population. Okay, because they don't have no purpose. They don't have nothing to fight for them. Now, if you could find somebody they can punch down on and feel that they're better than, and they want to marginalize and oppress, they'll look for it. And I'm telling you, it happens in so many societies, bro. Like, it happens in so many societies, bro. Like, if I went into it, you'd be like, wow. Like, you serious? It's like, damn, they're everywhere. It's like a natural phenomenon amongst people groups around the world, especially amongst their common folk, not amongst their intelligentsia, not amongst the intelligent-minded ones that could see through the BS and see that, okay, y'all are being played, y'all are being used, because the politicians know that they need you to focus an enemy as somebody else as an enemy, and not, the elites themselves who are creating a society that's making it hard for you. And I think we're at a point now, I think in the next, we're already there, but I think it's really going to be felt over the next few years. Definitely over the next few years, it's going to be felt, because you're going to have so many women that are not married or that are single mothers struggling. You're going to have so many men that are going to be without a woman, or they're going to be getting screwed over by their wives divorcing them, because you're going to have a lot more divorces, and you're going to have a lot more men on child support, a lot more men paying out, being punished through divorce courts. Then you have a lot of men avoiding marrying, avoiding having children, because they don't want to be victims, because they see their bag is not as big, and they need to be able to at least survive on their own. And a lot more men are going to walk away from that option of being, married. And it's funny how they talk about the birth rate issue. I'm like, dude, the birth rate issue is being exacerbated by all these factors. I mean, you cannot create a better scenario for a reason why men would be like, I'm good on, getting married and having kids, or even of women who see these struggling women that are struggling, and they're like, listen, if I'm going to have kids, I'm only going to have kids with a rich man. You know what I'm saying? Or if I'm going to have a kid, I have to supplement my income maybe through the sex work. Or if I have a great career, then I can go have that one or two children, and then I could go find a simp to supplement the rest of my income. Because that's kind of what happens with a lot of these women. They're kind of trying to take a playbook out of Sierra on a smaller scale, though. But a lot of women are seeing like the backlash of being a single mother all over social media, and they're like, oh, snap. I mean, I've seen so many women crying, beautiful women, man, that are single mothers. But, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. They're talking about how they feel like men are not interested in single mothers anymore. And I don't feel bad for them, I mean, unless you're truly a widowed woman, then I can empathize. If you had a husband and you lost him prematurely, and you had to be, you had to be a widowed, taking care of a fatherless child, that's different. But a lot of these women, their plan was to get pregnant by the guy they really like and get a guy that had more means to take care of them. And men are not playing that game no more. So now men purpose, even as a stepfather, the stepfather purpose is gone for even simps. Men are like signing off. And to be told, a lot of men that are in a position to take care of women and have money, they're enjoying like the ratio of women that want them over the women that don't want other men. So why would a man? So now you're creating like these big time playboys that just got this crazy access to a large amount of women, and they're like, Why would they settle down? They can literally have, all the women that they can ever dream of, bro. And you're talking about a country of 330, 40 million people with all these women out here. Yeah, a lot of them are overweight, but shoot, so many women go to the right spots, pick and choose. You know what I'm saying? It's like a layup for some of these guys. You know what I'm saying? And there's still a minority of men. We're talking about probably 5% of men that might represent these type of men, but they're visible because of social media, and these women want to be around them. And if they can experience them here and there, they'll do what they'll do to experience these men and be happy. And if they don't want to deal with men over here anymore, or they can always go to other countries, especially if they're in that 9-10 range, and they can experience different men, be on yachts and things like that, shopping sprees, whatever. But that stuff is not going to help the rest of the country, the rest of the people, the other 95% of people. What do they have to look forward to? So, bro, we're really at a point where people are really going to start going through a real shock and trauma about what's happening in their lives and the reality of it not ever changing and only getting worse progressively. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next episode.